Bro, just living as a Gen Z person in adulthood right now, bro, just being an adult Gen Z individual. I mean, this has to be the worst time in just human history. One of the worst in terms of job opportunity, housing, social economic growth. I mean, it's like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. These boomers, man, you fuck. This is specifically going towards the boomers, dog. You greedy bastards, bro. Right? Just hoarding everything for yourself, not allowing the next generation to thrive. You people, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Y'all all need to just either fuck off or die off, bro. One of the two, bro. I'm not gonna hold you, man. Cause right now, the way it is, man, you got people who, if this was back in the day when the boomers were like, coming up, if you're 24, 25, 26, 27, early 30s, you would have been buying a house by now, right? You would have been able to afford all these things. You would have only needed one job, working at some butt fuck factory somewhere, it doesn't even fucking matter, one income, and you would have been fine. You would have had a 2-car garage, home, white picket fence, all, the whole thing, the American dream, right? Fast forward 2026, dog. I mean, you can be somebody who has a degree, maybe even 2 degrees, right? Working a great job, apparently, but you still can't even afford to pay your rent, or you're living paycheck to paycheck. So now you need side hustles in order to compensate for the income that you're supposedly lacking with all this education and everything that you got going on. I mean, it's this. I mean, bro. This right here, bro. This. A housing crisis for an entire generation.
Joining me now is a guest with 25 years of experience in housing policy. Jenny Schutz is the Vice President of Infrastructure for Housing at Arnold Ventures, where she oversees efforts to identify and enact policies that can successfully expand housing supply and make it easier to build more and different types of housing. She also served as the principal economist for the...
Yeah, let's hear it, man. First of all, we need to get rid of all these single-family homes, man. Break all that shit up. We need to build up. All the housing needs to be built up. It's not to say that we can't have single family homes, but they need to be sectored off somewhere, and there doesn't need to be too much supply of those. We need housing where it's all built up so that we can fit more people within a certain amount of space. I mean, that's really all it comes down to, but, let's hear what she has to say.
Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. She's the author of the book, Fixer Upper, How to Repair America's Broken Housing Systems. Jenny, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, look, I bit off a lot there. There's a lot to talk about here. My large point is we've got a real problem with housing. Right. And it's got no easy fix from the federal government.
These are some interesting looking characters. Am I tripping, or do these people look very interesting right now?
Mortgage rates need to go down. That's one relatively small part of the problem.
Sure.
That's right. I mean, fundamentally, the U.S. hasn't built enough homes to keep up with demand for about 15 years, going back to the Great Recession. We just aren't building enough homes to keep up with population and job growth.
And we're just supposed to sit up here and just be okay with it. We're 15 years behind, bro. Hey, man, we need to step this up, dog. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Especially in the places where people most want to live.
Right.
This problem has been building for actually decades in places like California and New York and Boston.
I used to live in California, bro. Had to leave that bitch. Too expensive.
But we have really seen in the last 5 years that...
Born and raised a local, bro. Had to leave for the Midwest. Can you believe that shit, bro? That's just crazy,
this
bro.
This spilled over from being a blue coastal city problem to being an almost everywhere problem. Cities like Austin and Nashville and Denver that historically have built a lot of housing and been very affordable have become less affordable and are just having trouble keeping up with in-migration.
Wow.
And as you pointed out, some of the Mountain West states, places like Montana and Idaho and Wyoming, have also seen a huge surge in demand and are really having trouble providing.
Even places like Wyoming? How many people are trying to live in Wyoming? And even they don't have enough housing? Oh, brother.
Housing for essential workers in those communities. And I think it's
Oh,
really important to remember this is not just an abstract problem. This is about 24-year-olds not being able to move out of their parents' house and live independently, people not being able to buy their first home.
And then the ones who are able to move out, man, they just go online. They just go online and start making, start bragging about it, right? Like, oh yeah, I was able to move out at 18, 19. Some of them, I mean, they could be bragging, but some of them it's like, well, were you really just like moving out because you wanted to move out or because your parents made you move out, right? But that's a discussion for a different day type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Essential workers not being able to live in the communities where they work.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, right? Because there are people who think, so what? You live in a place like New York or San Francisco, the housing's expensive in the city, but as you get farther out, the housing's cheaper, and why can't people just live farther out? But being able to live farther out depends on a lot of other things that we also don't do in some of these growing centers that you mentioned, including public transit. Just hard to get to work. You want everybody to have to drive in 2 hours, then you've got a car problem, then you've got an emissions problem, you've got a gas problem.
Exactly. And everybody likes to complain about traffic and congestion, but the truth is most of us are...
We also have a transportation problem, dude. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? That's a topic for a different day. But like all these damn cars and shit, bro, like we got to get like Japan in them. We got to get like China in them. You know what I'm saying? We got to actually have a good train system, metro system to zap people from, location to location. I thought they were going to do something like that back in the day in LA, with Elon and those guys, but I don't know what the fuck is going on, man. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Part of the traffic, and when we build most of our housing far away from jobs, from services, from shops, then we get more traffic congestion problems. The other issue is that where people live really affects the kinds of services they have. So families with kids would love to be able to live in some of the neighborhoods that have great public school systems, that have parks and access to open space. But a lot of those really desirable communities have make it very hard for renters to live there. They ban apartments, and so you have to be able to buy a single family house in order to access all of the great public services in the community.
So talk to me about this, because it's such a big issue that people face, and yet the solutions are, I don't want to say small, but they're very local. So it may be appealing to listen to a presidential candidate tell you how they're going to solve the housing problem, but actually they're not.
Yeah,
that's right. The solutions are going to have to come from state and local governments. So if we think about two different kinds of regulation,
people think it's important to vote, like when it comes to things like the presidential election, governors and things like that. Dude, go to your city council meetings, dog. I know a lot of people, oh, well, the president doesn't. You got to start within your own community, man, and get things changed up over there before you can go out and try to, broaden things up, man. It starts local, definitely. And unfortunately, you don't see a lot of young people going to things like city council meetings. Who do you see there? You see all the fucking boomers, all the old heads. That's why nothing changes, because they're the only people showing up to the city council meetings. So of course, nothing's gonna change if the people who like things the way they are the same people who are the only ones showing up to their local city council meetings. They're the only ones that are voting for local stuff to get changed and regulated and stuff like that. Yeah, nothing's going to change if that's the case.
That would be very helpful to change. One is just
but once they die off, things are going to be very different. I am curious, as to what the world would look like once these old heads are out of here.
Making it easier to build homes of all shapes and sizes. More than 3/4 of our land is set aside exclusively for single-family detached homes on yards. And so that's setting the bar awfully high for people to be able to buy or rent, allowing things like accessory.
Yeah, we're just not taking, we're not taking full advantage of the land. If we're just going to use all that land for single family stock homes, dude, if we're talking about yes, I think it's okay for certain people who want to live in a certain way, but dude, so much land has been wasted on these single family style homes, and they're also boring and plain looking. Have you seen the way a lot of these cul-de-sacs look, bro? It's like, bro, some of the most plain, dry communities ever, and there's nothing around. It's all homes. You can't even just walk to a local shop to go pick something up, bro. Me personally, it's not my style. You know what I'm saying? I think it's low key like a downgrade if we want to talk about just real communal type of living, amongst neighbors and stuff like that, and just just a natural flow. You don't really get that in the cul-de-sac, dog. That shit lame, bro.
dwelling units and backyards.
Hey, shout out to the cul-de-sac niggas though. If you fuck with it, I mean, good for you. But I think that shit's kind of whack.
Duplexes, townhouses, apartment buildings close to transit and jobs. Those kinds of changes to zoning laws would help diversify the housing stock and make it possible for people to choose the kind of structure they want to live in and have the freedom to live in the communities they want without having to buy a big house.
Yeah, bro. I don't think there's no repairing this shit. At least not quickly, you know. It's gonna take some time. But I do think it's important for people to go local, you know, go to your city council meetings, vote locally, you know what I mean? Be the change you want to see and start small, start in your community. That's really the only way we can see like some form of maybe not immediate impact, but like gradual impact over time. It's gonna take some time, dude. It's gonna take some time, but it's gonna just take people just being involved, man. Yeah, especially young people. Don't let the people showing up to these city council meetings just be the old head boomers, man. Because those guys, they don't have your best interest in heart, man. They're always gonna vote for things that benefit them, and we see it to this day. That's why things are barely changing right now. So.